He didn't need to speak to be feared. The moment Richard Carrington stepped inside, everything changed. Voices dropped. Movement slowed. Even the air between people turned brittle. Everyone knew who he was, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. The kind of man who didn't just demand respect, he forced it out of people through sheer pressure. No one dared to meet his eyes. Not the staff, not the regulars, not even the manager, who'd survived too many of Richard's visits already. He sat down, same table, same order, same ritual. A double espresso, a dash of cinnamon. Perfection, or else. He took one sip. Then the words came, sharp and loud, slicing the room in half. This coffee is a disgrace. The cup slammed down. Hard. Silence followed. Real silence. The kind that made your throat tighten and your hands forget what they were holding. And just like that, everyone braced for what always came next. He didn't stop at the insult. He wanted names. Who made this? He barked. Who approved this? His voice cracked through the space like a whip. Eyes turned, slowly, reluctantly, toward the counter where the youngest barista stood frozen. Barely a month into the job. Just a boy, really. Shoulders drawn, lips pressed tight, hands shaking beneath the counter. The manager rushed in, breath short, apology already spilling out. We're so sorry, Mr. Carrington. It won't happen again. I'll make sure. Richard cut him off with a glare. Words weren't enough. Not from him. Not now. And still, the boy behind the machine stood silent. Too scared to move. Too scared to speak. The rest of the cafe did what they always did. Looked down. Pretended not to hear. Hoped it would end quickly. But it didn't. Not yet. Not with Richard's voice turning colder, sharper, each word scraping dignity from whoever it landed on. And somewhere in that silence, the helplessness deepened. She saw everything. The trembling hands. The manager's broken apology. The way Richard's words hung in the air like smoke that wouldn't clear. Emily had only been there a week. She didn't know the rules yet. She didn't know that when he was in the room, silence wasn't just safety, it was survival. But she had been raised differently. Respect wasn't something you earned by power. It was something you gave because people mattered. Even scared baristas. Especially them. Tray still in hand. She exhaled once, slow and steady. Then she moved. One step. Then another. The room didn't breathe. Neither did the staff. Because someone was about to cross a line no one ever dared touch. Was it courage? Or something worse? A fatal mistake. She stopped just short of his table. Not shaking. Not angry. Just steady. The tray rested on the table beside her. Her hands were free now. And then, clearly, without raising her voice, she said it. The way you were speaking to the staff was unacceptable. No stutter. No apology. Just truth. The cafe froze. Truly froze. Forks hovered midair. Conversations vanished. No one moved. No one breathed. And Richard Carrington? He didn't speak. He just stared at her. Unblinking. Expression unreadable. As if trying to decide who exactly she thought she was. Emily didn't flinch. She didn't back away. Her voice remained calm, unshaken, but certain. She looked him in the eye and said, his behavior said more about him than the coffee ever could. The words didn't shout. They didn't need to. They landed sharper than anything he'd ever thrown at someone. For the first time, Richard didn't respond. Not with words. Not with fury. Just a pause. And in that pause, something shifted. His eyes narrowed. Not in anger, but in recognition. A flicker. A trace. Years ago, a woman with the same eyes. Same fire. Her mother. He remembered. The day she walked out, humiliated, after he tore her apart in front of a boardroom full of silence. She never came back. Now her daughter stood here. Steady. Unafraid. He didn't speak the memory aloud. He didn't have to. But it was there. And it made the room heavier. Seconds passed. Long, loaded seconds. Then, finally, he spoke. Not loud. Not cruel. Just direct. A fresh cup. The words still held weight, but the venom was gone. Emily gave a single nod. No smile. No triumph. Just quiet understanding. She turned and walked back toward the counter, steady as ever. And still, the cafe didn't move. Because they weren't stunned by what she'd said. They were stunned by what he hadn't. No outburst. No insult. No storm. Just silence. What's worse than a tyrant's rage? His silence. Because silence means calculation. And no one, not even Emily, knew what came next. He came back. Not once. Not twice. Over and over. Same table. Same order. Same sharp eyes. But the shouting? Gone. The explosions? Absent. He still expected precision. Still noticed everything. But the weight behind his words had shifted. He corrected, not condemned. And sometimes, just barely, he nodded in approval. A well-foamed cappuccino. A plate timed right. Nothing dramatic. Just noticed. The staff didn't trust it at first. But gradually, their steps lightened. Their shoulders lowered. The dread began to thin. It wasn't peace. But it wasn't war anymore, either. Emily never mentioned it. Not once. No retelling. No credit-seeking. No sideways glances for approval. She just kept doing what she always did, greeted with warmth, moved with purpose, treated everyone like they mattered. But something had changed. Not in her, in them. The staff watched her more closely now, mirrored her calm, matched her quiet courage. And the customers? They remembered. They spoke of that moment in whispers, like it had rewritten something invisible but real. Not a clash, not a scandal, something deeper. The day someone reminded them, and him. Respect is a two-way street. He never said sorry. Not once. But the tips got bigger. Not flashy, deliberate. A quiet gesture. No explanation. And every now and then, he'd ask for Emily's opinion. What's fresh today? What do you recommend? Simple questions. But when she answered, he actually listened. He nodded, considered, sometimes even followed through. And that, from him, felt louder than any apology ever could. That was a change no one could have predicted. But still he watched her. Not in the way he used to watch staff, to catch them failing. No, this was different. He listened now. But what was he really hearing? And why did it feel like he was waiting for something? He didn't sit at his usual table that day. He sat at hers. No demand. No announcement. Just a quiet shift that pulled the cafe into stillness again. But this time, it wasn't fear that settled in the air. It was something else. He looked at her. Not past her. At her. And then he said it, soft but loaded. You remind me of someone. Emily didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her eyes already had. He knew. And she knew he knew. Seconds passed. Then came the question. Direct. Unexpected. Heavy. Would you ever consider managing this place? She didn't speak. Didn't nod. Didn't flinch. Just held the silence. The same way she once held her ground. And in that silence, the story didn't end. It hung there. What would you do if your past tried to hand you power?